many episodes.
Oh, does the fake voice say it for you too? Recording in progress. Okay. Welcome to Jerri Berry's Friend-Tastic Library, the podcast where I interview everyday average people about their fantastic lives. Instead of going to a normal library to check out books, you can come to the Friend-Tastic Library to check out people. So today we're talking to Bevin. Bevin is one of my favorite people, and she has many, many titles, including aerobics instructor, fellow podcaster. She calls herself a head cheerleader, and that's truly what she is. And you're like a good vibe giver, cat mom, lots of mushroom pictures on your Instagram. I love everything about it. So
I'm a passionate amateur mushroom photographer.
you have she also has a slug oracle on Instagram.
I do. Banana slug oracle, very specifically banana slug. They're in hibernation right now, but I want to say I'm very excited. I love triple numbers, and we left it at 222 posts. So what an auspicious, right? I didn't even realize that until like a while, because they went into hibernation when it was a drought this summer. Like we just kind of ran out of water, and then they never really came back. It just got cold, and like they don't like to be out in the cold, so they're deep hibernation, but they'll be back.
I also love that you identify as Bevin. I can't remember what the holiday was, but I know that it was like, it might have been like National Affirmation Day.
Oh.
And you posted something on your Instagram, and you were like, you can't get my pronouns wrong, and you can affirm me by calling me Bevin. And it was like a one word, like Bono or Adele. And I was like, oh, I love that so much.
Oh my God. I've never used Bono or Adele as my example, but I definitely have used Prince. Yes. And Cher. That's why I look at the audience and I'm like, who am I going to say? Madonna? I could be Madonna, right?
You could.
But like the right artist. Like I know Prince's full name, Prince Rogers Nelson, right? Like Madonna Louise Chacon. Like we know the name, Britney Jean Spears, right? But people can go by just their name if they like boss up enough to be more than average. I'll say like you can own enough space to just go by your first name, especially me. My name's pretty unusual.
I do love your name.
Yeah, there's a few Bevins in the world, but they're not taking up space the way I am. And you know what? I'm glad. And Biscuit Reynolds. I'm here with Biscuit Reynolds, my cat.
I love Biscuit Reynolds because I immediately think of Burt Reynolds, which he kind of reminds me of, but crossed with Tom Selleck.
Definitely was named after Burt Reynolds. I'm a big Dolly Parton fan. And I wanted to name him Biscuit, but then I realized that's a very average cat name. And so I was like, well, maybe he can be like George Michael and have two first names. And so then I was like, should it be, because then I thought about his mustache and I was like, well, Kenny Rogers or Burt Reynolds are both strong cat identifiers, right? And I actually literally gave it to my Instagram stories besties in 2016 when I adopted Biscuit Reynolds. Which do you prefer, Biscuit Rogers or Biscuit Reynolds? And Biscuit Reynolds won. And so that is the name of my cat. We've been together for 5 years.
It is an awesome name. And for those that don't follow Bevin, along with the amateur mushroom photography and the passionate amateur mushroom photography and the banana slug oracle, you also get a daily pic of Biscuit Reynolds to let you know what day of the week it is, and there's usually a song attached.
Always a song, and it's Biscuit Reynolds Boomerang welcoming you to the day.
I love it.
I started doing it in the pandemic because it's like very Groundhog Day, but every day is different because I'm interacting with different people, like the Friend-Tastic library, right? Like every person is a whole unique experience. And so every day is unique, even though this pandemic does sure feel like a long time.
It does. It does. I start to think it's never going to end. But I wanted to talk about, speaking of human connection, the magical moment that we met, because I love talking about how people meet. And I feel starstruck that you're on my podcast because I followed you well before I met you in person, because I saw you through the GGG Facebook stuff, because you did a lot of South California ones, I think, before, because you used to live in LA.
I have only ever done one. I have to say, one of my greatest life regrets is not doing the second one. I'm not going to get into that, but I did my freshman GGG. This is how I like to call it. It's like your first GGG. I shared a freshman GGG with Purple Courtney. It was Southern California in October of 2018.
Okay.
it was literally like the weekend that changed my whole life. I have a theory that a lot of people show up to their first GGG and their whole life starts to change because there's something about the experience and the connection that kind of levels you up, and you go back out and the things that aren't vibing with you fall away. And my relationship started to fall away literally 2 days after that GGG. Like I got an email that ended a lot of things. It didn't end anything, but it was like the things are a problem, but it was really like things are a problem, and I'm going to go to couples counseling with you, but I'll be out of town 3 of the last 4 months of our relationship.
Oh, okay.
But we did get to break up in couples counseling, and I have to say I'm glad for it because at least I got to say everything I needed to say. And anyway, so that was my first GGG, 2018, changed my life. And then I got to go to a bunch of them in 2019. So did we meet at one in 2019?
Yeah, I remember seeing you for the first time in person at Oregon 2019, Smoke on the Water.
Yes, I love that so much.
Yeah.
And I have, so what happens for me, the year that I went to 4, suddenly all of them became the same one. You know what I mean? So like, I have a memory of Meredith being at that Smoke in the Water one. She was not. I met her at the SoCal one. Isn't that hilarious? And it's like, she was not there, but now she's been to Smoke on the Water with us because we were all at the Sister Sesh camp out. That's literally the only thing I've done in this quarantine was go camping with everybody in Southern Oregon. But that was the same place where you and I met, I guess 2 years before. But Meredith was now at the second one. So now she's just forever in that space for me.
Like I met Lauren there. I'll just name drop her. I don't care. It's a pretty common name. But my Canna bestie Lauren, we met at the NorCal in 2019 before
I didn't get to go to that one.
That came before the Oregon one. But I feel like I've known her like half my life, and we've only really known each other for like 2 years. So I think that's just what happens at the GGG.
It's like time folds on itself. Intimacies are created. There's a sisterhood bond. I think cannabis does a really good job of bonding us. Like the plant knows, and the plant's like, hey, you go sit next to your future bestie. You know what I mean? Like, and again, I say this, this is kind of a guiding principle in my life. You haven't yet met everyone you will love. So it's really incredible when like you get to meet someone that ends up being a person who can sing and wear a cow onesie at the same time.
She is a great person. I feel like a lot of people at the GGG are great people. And like I know that I followed you and Ashley Manta. We talked about her last week with Noemi. Not yet posted, but it will be out on Friday. And both of you were like people that I wanted to meet and that I just never got the chance to until I met you at Oregon. And it was one of those things where it's like, she can't really be this fabulous in person, can she? And then I met you and I was like, oh my God, she just is this person every day of her life. And it was the best thing. And I had so much fun at your aerobics class. What is it? I guess you call it like your canna size class there, right? But it's essentially Fat Kids Dance Party, but just with welcoming of cannabis usage while you're there. Is that like the idea?
No, it is a Fat Kid Dance Party is a cannabis destigmatized place, which means there's cannabis use at any Fat Kid Dance Party class, no matter the level.
Well,
canna size, but canna size is like a specific branch of Fat Kid Dance Party. It's all the same stuff, but it's like the stuff that I would be able to do when I was stoned. You know, like I don't typically teach while I'm stoned. I'm typically sober because I like to be. It's easy. I mean, I have so much I have to take care of. Teaching a class, like it's easier. The only place I've taught stoned is the Glowing Goddess Getaway, actually. And it's like hard to avoid, so I'm just like, I have other people who are running the sound. I'll just show up and we'll make it happen. But it's like slower, more repetitive choreography for use with an optional cannabis experience, because some people just come and just want to have a slower class, which I think is great. And like intentionally like not teaching heavy choreography, you know what I mean? Like just something
that makes sense.
I do some like more challenging stuff at a regular Fat Kid Dance Party class, but canna size is I created it before Glowing Goddess Getaway, but I certainly have sharpened it by getting to teach so frequently. And in such a safe and affirming environment, because it's just one of those like you already belong here kind of places. Like we love like everyone who walks in, and like attracts like I have never once met someone from a GGG I didn't want to sit and have a sesh with. And so like during peak pandemic, I was reaching out to anybody in the senior Glowing Goddess group to be like, hey, you want to have a one-on-one Zoom? That's how I met Noemi. I didn't know who Noemi was.
Yeah, I remember we hung out once during the pandemic, and I just had a baby, and I was like, oh, thank God, a friend. Like
Yeah.
the pandemic was so hard having a new baby, and you can't like go out and hang out with people.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it was crazy. I think I just had a baby. I was either very, very pregnant or I
No,
just had a baby.
you already had a little baby.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
It kind
And
of
it's like,
blurs.
yeah, but like, you go to a place and you like the people who go there. So like might as well
Yeah.
make friends and also like reconnect with people you'd already met. Like I feel like there's so much I needed my sisters and now I'm just so grateful we have our Discord
Yep.
to stay connected. So
I haven't been as active on it as I was originally because I've been preoccupied with this and the holidays. But I do like that it's there. I do like snoop and read stuff, even though I'm not on the lives anymore. But yeah,
I don't think it's snooping if it's freely available. I think we
that's
actually
true.
genuinely, I think I'm going to speak for everyone when I say we appreciate literally any minutes you spend on the server, whether you be in a chat live with us or just participating on the board or even just snooping. Like,
Yeah.
this is truly like one of those sisterhoods where we just genuinely like each other and like where two or more of us are gathered, we have our energy together and like, I like it a lot because like in living alone, like it's nice to have like people to do dishes with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And coworkers. I don't have coworkers. Like, so it's kind of
Yeah.
rad because like I don't have any areas of my life where I spend any time with people I don't choose to spend time with. And
That's really cool.
Yeah. So, but I think it's fun when you pop in there, even if you have to be doing math at the same time.
Yeah, so I hop into the Discord while I'm at work and I don't say anything at all, and it's very
Are
funny.
you really admitting that? I was like, if any of Jerri's coworkers are listening, I don't want to tell them.
I don't think any of them will ever listen to this, and if they do, I think it'll be so far gone, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, so my job, I don't state on here, mainly because my job likes to be low key. But like I work in
keep your job, Jerri. We need you to have that day job. This podcast is not paying your bills. Please buy something for Jerri from the Amazon wish list in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll leave my Amazon wish list in the description below if you're like an official podcaster. But so like I don't name drop my job company because they like to be very low key. But they are very knowledgeable that all of us have our headphones in and are on our phones with like YouTube or podcast or audiobook or music. Like we don't really talk to each other that often, and they, as long as you get your work done, they don't care what you do. So I don't think they'd mind if they knew that I was sitting in on a Discord. They'd probably just want to make sure that I'm not like showing work secrets, because the ag industry,
I can attest. The only thing we know is that there's a motivational poster behind you and that you drink a lot of tea and your nails look good and it's fun to try to make Jerri laugh at work.
Yeah. So it's like, because the ag industry is so uptight about everything. That's kind of the only, well, yeah, they're not uptight about everything, but they think everything's a great big secret. And it's like, it's
definitely
like drug
don't
dealing,
even mention the industry you're in. What industry? You work for 7-Eleven doing data for them? That's what I understand.
But yeah, it's come up, the career path has come up before in other episodes. But yeah,
so we know it's an ag. Did you go to UC Davis?
I did not. I went to CSUMB. Cal State University, Monterey Bay.
That's, you know what, that didn't even exist when I was applying to colleges.
Correct.
It was brand new. I heard that it was happening because it was of interest to me. I was told I could not go to a state school. I needed to go to a University of California, which I did do.
Was that who told you?
My mom.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Very overt. It was very clear. I remember the day. She probably doesn't even remember this conversation. Here's a learning point. Don't make any of your life decisions around some comment someone makes that they will deny saying later. So I distinctly remember in my version of history that my mother told me while we were driving that if I went to a community college, I was going to have to pay rent. And I was like, and so like now that I understand like how much of a fucking bargain it is to go to community college, how expensive college is, how much student loan debt holds people back from living fully realized lives. Like if you don't know what it's like to feel debt free, it is a literal change in your body. And I want to say this as someone who has never known as an adult what it's like to be debt free. I'm still in all of my law school debt. So like I went down a path of getting into a lot of debt for not being in my alignment, right? And so my mom it was like the Reba McEntire song Fancy, where like her mom puts her in a dress and says, find a man to take care of you. My mom did the exact same thing with education. She's like, get a degree and get a job, and like that's your life, and that's how you're gonna, I mean, that's the only thing she knew. And I watched her put herself through school, and she graduated when I was 10 years old. It took her so long to get through her bachelor's. It was really hard for her. And like, I respect her and admire her so much. She went to a state school. She went to Cal State Hayward. I don't know what they call it anymore, but it was Cal State Hayward when she went there.
Yeah, I think it's still just called like CSU Hayward.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, because I was looking in the master's programs there, but yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
I think they may just call it Hayward even, but yeah.
Anyway, so they have now knocked down their iconic building where I used to sit as a little kid. There were vending machines, which I was very interested in, fat kid, snacks. And my mom would bring me, and she was like a broke single mom trying to go to college. She did not have vending machine money. Yeah. But she usually made it rain a little. And she would have like study groups, and I would like read my books. I read a lot of books as a kid, very traumatized.
That's so cute. Yeah. I went to, whenever I was at community college, I had a professor whom I love and adore and admire and still look up to, but he insisted that I should go to UC Santa Cruz and not CSUMB, because UC Santa Cruz is where the smart kids go. That's where you get like, because that's like the pathway to PhDs and research and really like highly respected scientists, because I was a math kid. And then, well, a math person. I was like 23, so we're not a kid anymore. And then I did a tour of, first of all, I applied at UC Santa Cruz. I applied at Cal Poly, CSUMB, Cal State San Jose. And then I think, because you get like so many applications for free if you're like a low income. So I think I may have sent in an application to like Fresno or something just to see. But I got into all. I could have picked wherever.
What program were you applying to?
It was all math at the time. So it was just like
master's in math. Is that what the degree?
What?
Master's in math.
It would have been a bachelor's. So just a bachelor's.
This was from community college to your college.
Yeah.
And your major was math. Okay, keep going. Sorry, I thought that was a grad school journey.
Nope, sorry. I didn't do grad school. I don't think I'll ever do grad school. But I looked into it and I don't think I'm going to do it. So then I took a tour. Scheme. What's that?
It's a Ponzi scheme. You pay money to other people who have that thing to teach you how to have that thing. But then there's not enough jobs for everybody. Yeah. Because some people get to teach that thing, but most people don't. Yeah. And then people end up cycling out of the profession. I'm no longer practicing law. I don't think I should have to pay for my degree. I think I should be able to give it back and get a refund.
That would be great.
I was told, oh my God, in our orientation, our 1L orientation, I literally just arrived in New Jersey from California. I got 7 applications to law school. This was my bonus application because I was like, what's my 7th school going to be? And I got mail from Rutgers that my friend had written a note to me on. I would never have looked at it because I was already over all the stupid mail from the law schools after I took the LSAT. And so this is like a bonus one. And I saw it, and I saw that they had scholarships available. And I also saw that it was in New Jersey. And I was like, I really like Kevin Smith movies.
Yep.
And so that's where I applied to law school. I also applied to UC Davis and a few other places. And my first choice was Davis, and I did not get in. And you know what? It was like a turning point in my life. I could have chosen, this is very much a fork in the road. And I'm, ultimately glad I went the way I did, because I was living in New Jersey and then really hanging out all the time in Philly. It's where I met all of my friends in drag. And like, that's how I like kind of realized you could be fat and love yourself. And like, it really changed my life. So I wouldn't I think I was meant to go to New Jersey to be in Philly at that time. Yeah. And like life brought me there by my delight at Kevin Smith. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do this law school thing anyway, I might as well make it a low key joke and like move to New Jersey and see what happens. And like, I miss New Jersey. I'll say that I didn't never want to live in New Jersey again, but I definitely want to go down the shore once a year with my kids.
I've never been to Jersey, but I have been to Philadelphia because I used to live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh. You've never been to Jersey and you grew up in Pittsburgh? Oh,
correct.
Very Jersey Shore, GGG. You got to promise me you're coming.
That would be really cool. I did want to go to the Berkshires one, but I didn't make it. But yeah, I feel like my college choices really changed me as well, because I went to go do the tour at UC Santa Cruz and
Go Banana Slugs.
Go Banana Slugs. And my husband And my son went with me, and we're hiking all over to do this grand tour. And like, we all hated it. I don't know why. We all just hated it. I had all these grand dreams
There's
of
a
going
lot of hills.
there, and we just were not feeling it at all. I felt like the oldest person there, and I was like 25 maybe. And I just felt like a decade older than everyone else there. And everybody was there with their parents. Meanwhile, I'm there with like my husband and my kid. And the family housing looked like something out of a zombie apocalypse movie. And I was like, no, I can't go here. So then I did the tour at CSUMB, and we instantly like fell in love. So I went there. And I'm so happy I did, because the second that I chose CSUMB, they sent an email to all like math majors, maybe to all majors, but I know for sure all the math majors. And they were like, hey, we have a brand new program, and it's a statistics program, never before offered. Usually statistics is a master's program. So I was like, yes, I want to do that, because I was going to do a statistics minor. And so it ended up working out great, because I got my bachelor's in statistics and landed this like really, really good job. So if I would have gone to, and I have friends that went the UCSE path, and like, you know, we split, and they ended up taking, well, from their stories, they ended up taking a lot of drugs to get through the quarter system that universities have. The UC system.
Listen, I went through the quarter system in undergrad, and my exposure to drugs was like exponential when I went to law school on the semester system. People who want to use drugs will use drugs. And it just seems like, you know, if you got a lot of young people at UC Santa Cruz doing drugs, it just sounds like the goddess brought you on the right path.
Yeah, for sure.
I think when you know, I didn't even have any awareness of my intuition at the time that I selected my college, but I intentionally applied to UC Davis as a genetics major because I knew it would be hard to get in. Genetic engineering. I knew, because I had heard engineering was hard to get into at Davis, and my mom wanted me to go to Davis. I did not want to do what my mom wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, I applied to like UC Santa Barbara, UC Berkeley, which by the way, Berkeley rejected me, but I could have waited a semester and gone second semester. And I have to say, I kind of regret that. Like, I should have gone to Berkeley. I liked Davis. Fun. Davis was amazing. And like, I think it was my life path to be there in the way that I was. I had so much fun. I loved the people that I was there with. It was like, when I first went to visit, when I first went to visit Davis, I felt like I was at home. And like, when I was visiting Berkeley, which I did a lot because I grew up in Castro Valley, which is just like 2 towns away, I felt curious, you know what I mean? And it's like, I think that Berkeley would have saved me from going to law school, and Davis brought me to law school, brought me to this life. And you know what? Go Ags. I loved UC Davis. It was really fun. I was an RA, and I was a great RA.
That's awesome. I was a TA through most of my college experience at community college and state college.
Smarty Pants Jerri is a Smarty Pants helping a class happen.
I gotta pay the bills. Yeah. I also did a lot of tutoring on the side. Lots of tutoring on the side. Like under the table money. But I was gonna say something, and I don't remember what I was gonna say. It was about school and college and stuff, but I don't remember now. Oh well, it must not have been important. But I was gonna ask if it's really gonna bug me that I can't remember that now, because you were talking about feeling at home. Oh, I know what it was. Because you talked about applying to UC Davis as like a joke, because you know it'd be hard to get into.
Yeah, and I did that with
I did that with Cal Poly. I knew from day one I would never go to Cal Poly because they don't have family housing, and I had a family, and I didn't even like their math program, but I had to apply to like flex my own ego and know that I could go to Cal Poly if I wanted to. And so I did.
You gotta do that.
Yeah, and so I did, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're accepted," and I was like, "Oh, sorry, I chose CSUMB."
I went to Cal Poly with my mom to visit for 20 minutes. I was like, "I'm ready to go if you."
That's how I felt at UC Santa Cruz. Me and my husband didn't even finish the tour. We were just like itching to get home, and we drove up and saw the family housing, and we were like, "We're out of here, never going."
I mean, it's beautiful, like the redwood trees.
It is.
Like, it's gorgeous. I went to visit also. Didn't really feel at home at all. I read a book that someone wrote I forget who it was. I'll take a picture of the cover and send it to you if you ever want to read it. But like, I felt like reading her book, I understood what it was like to go to UC Santa Cruz. And I was like,
I always like, I had all these dreams built up in my head about that school because of Pulp Fiction. He wears like a Banana Slugs t-shirt in Pulp Fiction after they have to clean up the dead guy in the car. Oh my Spoiler God. Alerts if you've never seen Pulp Fiction. But
if anybody wants to get me and or Jerri, UC Santa Cruz banana slug shirt with a banana slug on it. I want a graphic of a banana slug. I had one once. I got it at my tour for UC Santa Cruz. I will say my mom pushed me to college, but she did take me around. I will say Pepperdine was a hard and fast no.
I never even heard of that.
Pepperdine is a college in Malibu. It's worth it to just GPS it and go visit, right? Like go drive up. Do not get out of your car. You don't want to walk up that hill. That hill is a beast, like all hills in Malibu. But like I didn't know anything about Malibu at the time. I was 16, 17, right? Like but like my mom, my family lives in Southern California. So I grew up going up and down the 101. I would see the Madonna Inn out my window. Like I did not know what it was. It was so majestic and beautiful on the hill. And now I have actually been to the Madonna Inn. It is the most beautiful place in the whole wide world.
Was that the one with all the crazy rooms?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go there. Sure.
So my ex gave me a gift certificate for my birthday one year, and it was my birthday's Christmas Eve, by the way. And I just, for anybody out there listening, I do also have an Amazon wish list. You can find that at the link in my profile, both for Fat Kid Dance Party and Bevin's Party on Instagram.
I can always put it in my YouTube description too.
And thank you. Put it in there. Please be my Santa. And I have some fun, weird things on there. A makeup travel bag I'm hoping for. Recommended by my favorite mom YouTuber, Jordan Page. If you want it, she has 8 kids and 5 businesses. You know what I mean? I have 1 cat and 2 businesses, and it's a lot. Like I can't even imagine, you know what I mean? But I learned so much from her about productivity. I bought her planner. Like, I'm down the Jordan Page rabbit hole, and she has taught me so much.
I'm gonna write that down so I don't forget.
I want to teach you this from my favorite Jordan Page teaching is the B+ effort. If you've been raised to like feel like you need to be the good girl, the perfectionist, like make everything good for other people and get so stressed about other people's opinion of you, downgrade to a B+ effort, because a B+ effort, you can get that done. I put a B+ effort towards academia, and I did very well. And then in college, I did pretty well in law. It was enough to get into a pretty good law school. And then in law school, I did well. I mean, I got a B+-ish in law school, right? Oh my God. Here's how tough girl I was. I got my gallbladder out during finals, my second year, first semester, second year. Gallbladder out during the study weeks, actually, is when my gallbladder came out. And like it was emergency surgery. I was in the hospital for 5 days, and yet your girl did not skip any of her finals because I did not want to pay for an extra semester of law school. And to have to do it again. And like I ended up getting a C in my sports law class, which was supposed to be an easy A. But if you don't understand sports, you are not in a position to not study for the final. And I have to say, I think that I should never have taken that class, because I would have to ask my friend Holly, who sat next to me, also a lesbian. We were the co-presidents of the lesbian club at school. So cute. Our final year. It was let me remember the name. I haven't thought about this for years. We were the Outlaw Club. And this is like 2000 to 2003 that I went to law school. So this is like barely at the Gay Straight Alliance.
I love that.
Right? Outlaw is what we were called. And yes, we were the co-presidents. And like, actually, that was really fun. That was kind of the best part of law school was the pizza parties at the clubs that we would have at lunchtime.
I will agree that I was the math club president, and the best thing of my community college experience was being math club president.
Yes.
I learned nothing about being the president of a club. I learned a lot about how to love like myself and people and pizza parties, and it made college bearable for sure. But yeah, I killed myself through community college because I wanted to be able to get in whatever school I wanted to. Like I did really good throughout school because my dad made me, and he put like the fear of like whatever into me. And then I got to community college way later in life, and I wanted to be able to do whatever I wanted. So I did really, really good, and I tried really hard. And I graduated with like a 3.8 and some change, right? So almost like the highest honor, almost. I was very happy with it. I had like 1 C on my record that made me have a full blown breakdown. But once I got to that point and I made it to CSUMB, I totally adopted the B+ effort. I was like, I made it. This is it. I just have to get through now, right? Because jobs don't care about your GPA. I don't care what anybody tells you. Not once did any of the 57 applications that I put in ask for a GPA. So nor did my current employer. But yeah,
Did
I
you
still,
put it on your resume anyway? Because I sure have my GPAs on my resume.
I don't think my GPAs are on there because I had a resume workshop at Cal State and they had told us that unless your GPA is a 4.0, there's no reason to put it on there. So I was like, okay, whatever. But I do think I put that I graduated like, is it called like magna cum laude, whatever those Latin words are from Hartnell.
Yes.
And then from CSUMB, I graduated with just honors because my Hartnell GPA was like a 3.8 and some change, and my CSU GPA was like a 3.3. So it averaged out to a 3.5 and I got the cord. So I think I put that I graduated with whatever that Latin word is, but I did not put GPAs.
I have to say, I was thinking about the cord the whole time you were talking about magna cum laude. I was like, and you get to wear more jazz.
Yeah, I was litty titty for my graduations. I had all kinds of stuff because I always was like in clubs and in programs to get free stuff. Yeah. Like I was in MESA, which is like Math Engineering Science Association or something like that.
I've heard of MESA. My mom was a math teacher for many, many years. That's what. So when I was 10, she graduated, and then 11, she went to Holy Names and got her whatever, you have to get a teaching certificate, something special degree in California. And then she was a teacher, math teacher for many, 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 many years. And I heard about MESA. I think it was a conference she went to.
Yeah. So like they would give you free calculators and like book vouchers sometimes and like cool t-shirts and whatnot. And then, yeah, so I just had all kinds of stuff. I was also the TA. So then you would get perks through TA. Like I got free printing for being like a tutor and a teacher's assistant and stuff like that. So I just had all of these weird sashes and cords and stuff. It was ridiculous.
Can we cycle back to the banana slug t-shirts for a minute?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So if we had our ideal UC Santa Cruz banana slugs shirt, it's definitely a graphic banana slug. But I also like want to fantasize that perhaps the t-shirt could be lilac, because I just think the yellow banana slug against a lilac t-shirt.
I was thinking like a nice powder blue, but lilac does sound good. Purple is my favorite color, so
powder blue would be nice too. And you know, it would be even nicer, almost like a whole Smarties necklace, like pastel rainbow of different banana slugs. Shirts, like maybe we wear it like on a day at the Glowing Goddess Getaway or something. And all be matching banana slug or coordinating banana slug shirt. I just think that sounds like the cutest thing ever. And like, again, the best part of Santa Cruz, UC Santa Cruz, is the mascot.
I don't know what you picture your banana slug as, but I picture I know Turbo's a snail, but I picture that style of animation, but of a banana slug.
For me, I picture it like Trug in the Creech universe
by
Mindy Gum Gribble. And it really, Trug is technically as it is drawn, Trug is a slug. But Trug could easily be drawn as a banana slug, and that is exactly what I see as the UC Santa Cruz banana slug. Yes,
I could agree with that as well. That one would be good as well. I just wanted him to be very animated. I don't know why I decided that my banana slug is a boy, but I did.
I mean, banana slugs are hermaphrodites, so you're not wrong. You can't get a banana slug's pronouns wrong, just like me. I have banana slug pronouns. This is what I'm realizing now. And it's mostly to highlight for people that I'm anonymous. Please don't try to find my last name. And if you know me on Facebook, they won't let me not have a last name. So
I know.
I think someday I will, connect with someone influential at Facebook who will let me drop the last name.
That would be pretty cool. Maybe you can just change it to your first name again so that you'd be Bevin.
Bevin is a possibility. I will also low-key say that I'm excited to get married someday and take someone's name and change my last name the old-fashioned way.
Really?
I just have my government name on Facebook, whatever,
I did not change my last name. I'm very against it, but I don't judge others.
I don't judge anybody for any choice they make because it's too exhausting. The pandemic taught me that having any ounce of judgment is too much energy because I am busy trying to just function and be responsible for me and my cat and my businesses and like getting the dishes done. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't have time to think about what anybody else does. I truly do not care. Please keep me updated about your pronouns. Please keep me updated about your name choices. Please keep me updated about your children. And yes, I want a greeting card for Christmas. And like, I always feel so honored when my friends with kids make any time to hang out with me on a Zoom, and like, but Anyway.
Yeah, I'm the same way. People can't get I'm not offended by people calling me by other pronouns. And I don't really get offended by people doing wrong names for me. But sometimes I have to find my zen if somebody calls me Mrs. Alcaraz, because that's my husband's last name. And I'm like, no, that's that. Sometimes I'll correct them depending on who they are. And I'm like, that's not my name. And they're like, well, no, you're married. And I was like, well, then why isn't he Mr. Shore? So
listen, I call him Mr. Jerri.
I love that. You said that the other day.
Which, like, you know what? I will say, like, if someone calls me Mrs. whatever my new last name will be, I will receive that. But also, even if they called me the more offensive, in my opinion, Mrs. someone else's full name. Like, my grandmother was in the newspaper. I have this on a memorial for her. It's like from the newspaper. She's modeling in a show, and it says Mrs. Robert Irwin. And I'm like, vomit. Yep. First of all, he was a jerk. Second of all, like, I mean, rest in peace.
Oh yeah. I made sure that at our wedding, whenever they announce you into the reception, that the guy did not say, welcome for the first time ever, Chris and Jerri Alcaraz. I was like, that cannot happen. It is just Chris and Jerri, no last name required.
There you go. See, you were explicit to someone who needed to know that information.
I also will sometimes say things to people that know us, and explicitly call me Chris's wife. I don't appreciate that either, because then it feels like you don't really see me. And I don't know. So it depends on the person as well. But if they're like, oh yeah, this is Chris and this is Chris's wife, and then I'm like, well, I have a name and you know me, like we hang out. But I'm also the person that just doesn't have time or energy to like make a scene, so I won't always say things whenever that happens. But yeah,
exactly.
I'll have to find my center on the way home in the car. But yeah.
I mean, listen, I can't wait to be referred to as someone's wife, because I am very discerning, and I know whoever I would marry would be someone worthy of being referred to by their full name. You know what I mean? Like Mrs. So-and-so who's really made a name for themselves, or Mrs. So-and-so who like I think the world of. I would be like, oh, like Chris's wife? That's right. You know what I mean? Like, I picked him. Like, I like him a lot. I spend my days with him. Like, I take vacations with this guy,
That's true. I should change that mentality for sure. And
I
do have like a hypocritical ideal where I'm like, if his last name was cooler, I would have taken it, right? Like, like I know somebody with the last name.
I leave it always open.
Yeah, I know somebody with the last name Blazer. Like I know of a person with the last name Blazer, and if Chris's last name was Blazer, I'd consider it, just because that's a cool last name.
Oh my God. Can I give you an exclusive? I would never have thought to talk about this on a podcast, but I think it's very relevant to this discussion. So my first girlfriend at the time, that's the term that we would have used, but we would say sweetheart now because they are now non-binary and use they, them pronouns. Okay. But their last name is Valentine.
Oh, that's so cute.
Isn't it the most adorable last name ever? And real last name too, like a real last name from like real family lineage, like come by honest. Luckily their whole name is very gender neutral, so it works well.
That's good.
I think for now. But they had an abusive ex that like between me, we dated twice. And they had this abusive ex for several years who just took their last name. They never got married. They just decided they were going to go by that last name. And it was kind of when they were breaking up too, when that started to happen. And like, then this person just totally took on that. Like, changed all the social medias. This was early Facebook days. So like, it was easy to do it back then. Yeah. They were policing you. Very, very little robot overlord interference in the early days of Facebook. You could be whatever name you wanted.
Oh my God. We changed our names whenever I worked at Walgreens, like every other week to new employees. So we would all be Jerri Shore. We would all be like Brandy so-and-so or David so-and-so. Like,
I love that. Yeah. See, in the easy days back when you could just have whatever name you wanted. Yeah. It was all government. So, I was like kind of a little bitter. Like after I realized, wait, you could just bully someone into just taking their last name. Like I could have been a Valentine if I had just been more dramatic. Like, Bevin Valentine. I could have changed my name. Like how cool. I could have the name Bevin Valentine if I had just been slightly more abusive than I was, Like it was so weird and abusive to just take someone's last name. You know what I mean? It's one thing to get married. There's consent, you like Chris enough to get married. You have literally cross-pollinated with him and created a new human.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's the thing is like, I learned that in, I think, almost all of the states in America, you can put your kid's name as whatever you want. And I don't think people realize that. Like, my kid's last name does not need to be my husband's last name or my last name. My sister did not give her son her last name or the baby daddy last name. You can make your kid, yeah, you can literally give your kid any last name you want, except for like some Bible Belt states. Like my brother lives in Tennessee, and I think he said that the hospital was giving them a hard time about the baby having his last name because they weren't legally married. So I think in certain states they're very old fashioned, but I know for sure in Pennsylvania and California, you can put any name, first, last, middle name you want on that birth certificate, and they do not question it. They do not care.
I know some lesbian couples who have gone the way of let's make up a new last name.
Yeah.
And I love
it. I would have done that if my husband was down. I would have like smashed them or come up with a new one maybe. But I do like my last name, so.
Wait, but you have Shore. Do any of your kids have Shore?
Yeah, so my son, so I'm Jerri Shore, my son is a Shore. My husband is Alcaraz. Our daughter is Short Alcaraz hyphenated.
Oh, hyphenated specifically. Gave her so punctuation.
It sucks for paperwork. But looking it up, if you just do 2 single last names without the hyphen, then it gets really weird on government documents because the government sees them as different stuff. So I guess like some government documents would think she had 2 middle names instead of 2 last names. And because I did my research, and if you hyphenate, they can easily drop one of those off later whenever they become an adult and just say, oh, I don't want it hyphenated anymore. I just want my mom's last name, or I just want my dad's last name. So we hyphened it. But yeah.
I love that.
Joke's on me because I have to write out that whole freaking thing now every time.
Exactly. Why don't you lobby for just Shore for that one too? It's faster. It's faster for everyone. He should be a Shore too. I'm not saying should. We already talked about should. It's an idea. He could be a Shore. It's an easier last name. It's faster. Yeah. You're gonna save hours of your life by the end of your life if you do this now for your daughter too.
You know what's funny is I actually asked my son the opposite. I was like, hey, did you want us to change your name? Because we can. And he was like, no, I like it the way it is. And I was like, all right. Well, anytime
he wants a fast last name too.
Yeah, he probably sees me filling out all over damn paperwork. But yeah. So, whatever. I was going to ask you though, because we've talked about all this stuff. And one of my big burning questions, and I love asking things like this, is do you remember the day, the moment, the time period when you became like your true self, like the Bevin that I know today, not like the lawyer Bevin? Was there like a moment that sparked that and you were like, F the system, I'm going to be this person that I love and not that person anymore?
What's really interesting is my friend John, he's a very dear friend of mine, UC Davis Aggies alumni as well. And the reason I moved to Jersey City after I lived in Camden and then Philly, I moved up to Jersey City. John had told me while I was in law school, he kind of just had this psychic knowing. He's like, Bevin, you're really living 2 lives right now. Like you're living this drag life and you're living this law life, and you're really not like fully integrated. And what's very fascinating is like, as I was like performing drag and then also being a lawyer, right? Like, and then social media starts coming up. I'm like posting on social. I have a blog. I had a blog in law school, you know what I mean? Like, so I've like been doing this like kind of dual life thing for a while. And I just recognized that as I rolled into the career, I noticed I was doing this dual life. Right. And it was because I didn't trust this like path of curiosity that like the artist Bevin was going through, like I was learning. I can tell you like the moment where I knew who I was and that I had value was when I was 22 years old and I fell in with the right group of friends. I think frequently for people, that's what the Glowing Goddess Getaway ends up being. It's like the right group of friends to kind of like reflect the true version of yourself. And it can be very powerful. And it was like a group of like, a dozen-ish or so artists who were working together. We were creating drag and like having life and like reflecting to each other. And like, I kind of was like simultaneously going to law school. You know what I mean? It was like this interesting thing where like I was able to pay for my life because I could get all these loans. And you know what? I'll say I have all this debt from law school, but it was worth every penny because it enabled me to have this like nightlife, you know, where I was like doing drag and being on stage. Like I had been on stage like in as a Girl Scout counselor, right? Like, and stuff like that. But I had never really taken up space. You know what I mean? I was always in so much shame and self-loathing. I had a hard time seeing the pink on the trees. I never noticed. I lived in New Jersey for years before I realized that in the spring cherry blossoms happen and every tree is pink. I had never even noticed that before. I was like 28 or 29, you know what I mean? So like, my life has been this process of unfolding like who I really am and like what's available to me in this beautiful world. And like, I'll say like living in the forest for the last 2 years, I feel like I'm unfolding even more in who I am and how I can love myself and love other people. But this has been the first time in my life where I've ever able to say that like I get paid to be me. You know what I mean? Like I'm literally doing what I want to do with my life and creating the life I love. And like, yes, I've made a ton of lifestyle sacrifices. Like when I was a lawyer, I was living paycheck to paycheck, making $85,000 a year. Like, I did not know how to handle money. I wish I had paid down a bunch of student loans. Like I wish I had the people that I have in my life now who helped me like run my life. Like I wish I had them then, right? Like I was making a lot of poor choices with my time and my money, but I was having the time of my life and eating good food and like driving a Prius, you know what I mean? Like my dream car at the time. What is my dream car now, you ask? A Tesla. I want the kind that has a lot of space for friends and like the roof that feels like you're under the moon the whole time. You know what I mean? Like that's what I want in my life.
Same.
Biscuit Reynolds doesn't usually take that path.
It's very interesting to watch him. It's good content for sure.
I hope the people on YouTube are enjoying.
And I love that he's sitting next to his portrait. It's really nice. He's like, look at me, I'm on the wall and I'm here.
He's wearing the same outfit he's wearing in that painting too, which I think is really fun.
But yeah, I have two questions leading off of your story. The first question is, performing drag, were you identifying as a drag queen or a drag king?
I was a drag king. My drag king character was Dick Carrier. He was a Texas politician. I knew a lot of people from Texas in law school. And so I took that curiosity and I put it in my art. My friend Dan Hunt, who is a Republican and has run for things in and around Dallas-Fort Worth area, still love Dan. He was the president of the Texas Club. And he truly taught me how to love Texas. And like, I am an empath. And so I get really excited when other people are excited about stuff. I am only an Eagles fan because those are the most excited fans I know. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't care about football. I actually think football is a really bad idea. But like, if I were to pick a team, it would be the Eagles. Like I get that the Seahawks are a thing around here, but I don't get it. You know what I mean? And so I pick up on other people's enthusiasm, and all these Texas people were like, Texas is the best. Here's why. Many reasons, by the way. And Dan Hunt gave me, when he found out I was a drag king, he was like, he gave me a tie and you know what? He wore this tie a couple times and I complimented him so hard that he gave it to me. That's and cute. I wore it for drag. I still have it in a box somewhere. I would never get rid of this tie. But it has a longhorn steer on it. It has Texas bluebonnets, the state flower. It has so many teaching points on this tie. I want to say it's got ice cream on it, but I don't think it does. But anyway, the bluebonnets are gorgeous. If you've never seen them in Texas, like
I'll have to Google it.
Oh my God. But yeah, like I was a drag king. I was also, something that was unique in our drag troupe is that we frequently had, we called them femme queens at the time, but that was like a feminine identified like woman dressing as woman, right? The drag was woman drag. So I started doing, this was when I was really figuring out my gender and like figuring out who I was and how I was, because drag feels very uncomfortable to me to this day. I don't like to be in drag. I'll be in drag maybe for money. You know what I mean? Like how RuPaul is only RuPaul for money. Like, and then like that, cause drag, I mean, RuPaul films all of those judging things in pants and like yoga pants, you know what I mean? Like, or sweatpants. I don't know. It's comfies, right? Whatever's happening down there is comfy. Cause like, it's a hassle to be in drag.
Just tear up. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you know what? People who are willing to be in drag for any length of time, you're a hero.
Yeah.
But I had to say, like, when I would do the femme queen stuff, so I would like put on the lashes, which like I learned how to do my lashes backstage at drag shows during the halftime, because I would host the first half of the show as a drag king with a little cowboy hat, usually a little suit. I would have bought it at Goodwill, probably. You know what I mean? Like some of them, I took the time to take some like, and I'm not a very meticulous person. This is not the thing. The burlesque performers today who are like bedazzling everything. I'm like the dance moms who do it for their kids. I'm like, I don't even want to decorate the tree. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to have fun and hang out. Like, I do not want to do this menial labor, but I love people who like to do that. So I did it a little on like around a Goodwill. I made a pinstripe suit out of like glitter glue, like a glitter fabric paint. And we did all this DIY stuff, and it was really fun. And we would do these whole shows, like 3-hour shows. Not 3 hours. Our shows would be about an hour, but like that's a lot of drag. And like you would be in multiple numbers. I would go to these shows with like a giant rack of clothes. Like this is why like breaking even at doing drag was like a success to me. You know what I mean? I was a lawyer, so it didn't matter like what it was, like self-expression. And then like I keep finding these new outlets to like do that with. And like I left law because I had the golden parachute of my partner paying for my life and being a housewife and like kind of being an entrepreneur and creating a new thing. And I'll be honest, like I started Fat Kid Dance Party because I was taking other people's aerobics classes knowing I could do better. And with like no experience, you know what I mean? Like I was like, all of my experience everywhere else creating parties for people make me know I can have you for an hour and help you feel better about the world. You know what I mean? Like that's what I bring to aerobics. And but it's been really beautiful because I always dreamed when I was a lawyer that I could someday pay for my life with my art and activism, and like finally I'm living that. And it's like, I'll say it's just barely, but you can really do a lot with your wealth with how you live. And like when I was a lawyer, I was not wise about my time or my money, you know what I mean? And like now I have to be very wise about both. And I'm really grateful I am like willing to do that, because like getting to be me full time and never like phoning in a representative, like faking it. Like the easiest thing to be is yourself, and the hardest thing you can be is what somebody else wants you to be.
Yes, agreed.
Right. And so like, and also once you stop caring what people think about you, that's literally living a life of love and no fear. You just pour love out on people, because like, even if they're nasty to you, like whatever, most people are nice. Right. And like, and if someone's nasty, like you probably did something good in the world by just simply being nice to someone. And like, and I think if you don't have to be in a job that you hate, you know what I mean? Like you can design a life that like can truly be the one of your dreams. But,
for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
My second question based off of this story is, because we were gonna talk about it before we started recording, but I wanted to have it on record because I love talking about this stuff, is your astrology sign. So you said your birthday's Christmas Eve, so obviously you're a Capricorn, but what's your moon and your rising?
I love that I share a birthday with Jesus. Jesus takes up a lot of space. But one of my favorite things to remind people about Christmas is that Jesus wasn't even born in December. It's very clear that Jesus is a Libra and was probably born in October. And so like we're celebrating Jesus's birthday, but I want you to consider that I was literally born at 10:49 p.m. on Christmas Eve in Vallejo, California. So like right on the water, born by a river. It was me at the Kaiser Hospital. And at that time of my birth, at that place, and I have to say, I never felt famous until this moment, even though a lot of people knew who I was. Like I was a drag performer, people knew that. Like when I had a podcast, like I had a podcast from 2008. It was like my breakup art project podcast. After my Saturn return breakup, I like threw myself into doing this podcast where I edited segments, Jerri. I know you don't do any editing on your podcast, nor do I on my present podcast, which is Bevin, a femme over 40 and her friends podcast, which you should totally subscribe to. I bet there's a link in the show notes. If you're spending this much of time with me and Jerri, like you want to subscribe to my podcast.
you inspired me to do my own podcast because I listen to yours pretty regularly. Yeah.
Thank you. I love that you love my concept of like interviewing your friends. And like, I just feel like my friends are the coolest and it's my favorite form of wealth. Like, I feel like I am like the wealthiest woman in the whole wide world because I have people who love me and that I love very genuinely. And it's like Nature Boy was right. Like, the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. It's like really the secret to life. Once you know that, you'll see every movie is about that. You know what I mean? And like, I really believe we're like either in fear or love. And I'm glad that you took the leap and started your own podcast, Jerri Berry. You're going to teach people so much.
Oh, thank you. So I did it. I did like a whole new, I don't know how to word it, but I recently have a whole new perspective on life where like at 25, I like settled down, got married, was in school doing like all the American dream things. And then in what did I say, a year or an age just now? I'm losing my mind. At 25, that's what I did. At 27, at 27, I went to therapy, went to the GGG. And like you said, once that happened, all the bad stuff like fell away and all the good stuff started happening. Mm-hmm. And now at 29, I realized that I had all these barriers around myself because I had the mindset that anything you do has to be productive in hustle culture. Mm-hmm. And if you don't do it well enough to make money, what's the point of doing it? Blah, blah, blah. So I developed this whole new, I think since I'll be 30 in March. So I think since I'm getting close to 30, I'm like, no, I need to just do stuff that makes me happy and not care. Right. So that's where I decided to I've always wanted to do a podcast, but the only thing that stopped me was like, no, it'll be dumb. People won't like it. Like it won't make money. And then finally I told my husband and I was like, I feel really silly for saying this, but I want to start a podcast. And he was like, no, just do it. That sounds great. I have all this stuff you can use. And then now it's like, I want to try to write a book, not for anybody to read, but myself. I just want to try to do it and see if I can do it. I don't care if it's crap or not. Like if you've ever seen New Girl and Nick writes a book, that's what I want to do. Like, so yeah, I feel like I'm tearing down the barriers of like, you have to be good at stuff to do it. Like now I sing a lot more. I've always been a very musical person, but I knew my voice didn't sound good. I'm not bashing myself. I was in choir, so I'm self-aware. I'm not tone deaf. I just know that people wouldn't want to like hear me hit notes by myself. But in a group, I can be awesome. So, but now I'm like, I don't care if I sound bad. I'm singing those Christmas songs. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, so absolutely. I don't care how well I sing or not, right? Like I care that I sing, and it's the discipline of the singing and the connection to, I think, the divine through song. And joy, it like releases your joy. It's so good for you to sing. And like, I'm glad you give less fucks, so you'll just do the thing. I think that's like the whole reason I like do aerobics in the first place, is just to get people to like give it a shot. You know what I mean? Like, and I think the movement is great for me. I mean, I never realized that I hated exercise so much growing up. I always thought it was like fat kid stuff, like because I wasn't good at stuff. But yeah, like, yeah, that also, like, I don't like not being good at stuff. But like, once I got over myself and I started doing yoga when I was 30 years old, I started doing yoga. And I was like, my friend told me there's no way to suck at yoga. You just show up and you just do it. And like, I was like, yeah, like, I was like, absolutely. Like, it was so liberating to me. And I never thought about it that way. But now that I'm a movement professional and like I literally teach aerobics, I'm like, oh, I was always so picky about exercise because I was meant to be an aerobics genius. You know what I mean? I was meant to teach aerobics. Like I would never have guessed that about myself. And it wasn't like, I can't believe I'm so good at it. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where like, I love it. And it's like the funnest thing I do. And I just love to get to spend time dancing with my friends. And like, also doing that is my life's work. And it's like a great way to deliver the important news that I have for everyone, that your body is great exactly as it is. And it's just a miracle, a meat sack. And the fact that you even have life in your bones is a miracle. Be alive. Here's your aliveness, right? Yep. So like moving to me is so important. And so like, so tender and so receptive, like when you're moving. And like a fitness professional should be someone that like that you trust and you want to be like, and you want to hear their input on your body. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of really dangerous people out there saying dangerous things when they're getting people to move. And I like to be a breath of fresh air as it was.
For sure. That was one of my favorite things that we talked about whenever we did our Zoom chat over COVID, or COVID's still a thing, over the lockdown.
Oh my God.
About
it's so weird. How do we refer to these times that are like, it's still the pandemic? Like, I mean, I'm still in quarantine week 90. What's up? The most dangerous thing I did was that sister sesh camp out outside with people the whole time. I was so careful. And I feel like we did great. I feel like we had no COVID. We did great. And like, also it sucks that the pandemic is still going on. I miss everybody. I want to be gathering in person more often. I want to go on tour. Like, I want to go be in Joshua Tree for like a month this winter. And like, I just want to be warm. It's so cold here, Jerri.
I'm sitting here in my garage thinking I'm really cold, and it's like 50 something degrees, I think, right now.
30s. It's 30s right now. But it's all right. Gross. You know what I mean? But like, let's visualize Bevin like in Joshua Tree for like a month. Sure, maybe definitely. In like a little bitty RV with Biscuit Reynolds.
Oh yeah. he needs some sunshine too, for sure.
He does. He wants.
But yeah, I loved talking with you about like I guess you would call it like fat shame culture. I think that's what I call it, is like fat shame culture, and the idea that people think that your worth is somehow based on the size of the meat sack you're in, to use your words earlier. It's crazy to me, especially whenever I say something about my size as a person where I'm like, oh, that, like, I'm trying to think of an example, but it's like, the only thing that's coming to mind is like putting on my socks is hard because I'm plus size. And whenever you bend over to put those socks on, man, you start to like, you start to suffer. But to me, that doesn't mean that I'm less of a person, or that I'm less attractive, or that I'm less talented, but I'll say something along those lines, right? And then somebody will be like, oh no, it's okay, you're beautiful. And I'm like, well, yeah, I didn't say I was ugly. I said it's hard to put my socks on. Like, but then that instantly tells me that person bases worth off of another person's size. And I'm like, oh, that's sad. But yeah,
Okay, so I have so many thoughts. I think there's a beautiful middle ground of fat neutrality where like there's the truth of being fat is that I'm like, this is a fat phobic chair and I'm not going to be able to sit in it. The truth of being fat is that on the airplane, I'm going to if you're sitting with me, I need you to like put up the armrest and just be cool about us cuddling. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It like, there's like some like truth about a body size, but then also like, it's totally a neutral thing about like whatever size your body is. You know what I mean? Like everybody is unique and different. This is the weirdest part to me, is that the idea of body currency, which is simply that different bodies have different value based upon a metric of oppressions and privileges. So whiteness is a privilege. And I mean, all of this is rooted in white supremacy. White supremacy polices bodies and polices bodies of the global majority, which is like round fat people. You know what I mean? Like, yep. And of course, like lifestyle does contribute to a lot of people's experience of adipose tissue, but so does like early life weight cycling and like eating disorders, and the side effects of diseases, hormone changes. All of these things create people's body diversity and like also benign genetic diversity. Like I come from fat people, you know what I mean? Like I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I'm like all the things, all the levels, right? Like and I teach aerobics, you know what I mean? And I love being fat because like, I mean, I've been fat a long time. I'm fat born fat, but like, I love that I'm more relatable to people. And like, I know a fat experience. I know what it's like to feel stiff and like, not really that mobile. So like, I have a better understanding of how to deliver truly open all levels, aerobics content, right? Like, because I understand that. But,
I also love your perspective that like, you're like, no, you can work out. It doesn't matter what size you are. Cause I can't tell you how many times I've heard or seen or read like, oh, you can't do yoga cause you're fat, or, whatever, like whatever, you can't do blank because you're this big or you're this small. It goes both ways. But yeah. And then with the family stuff, and the reason people are fat too is like, it's crazy to me that I know so many people that come from parents that are like, don't waste anything, finish everything on your plate. And then that person becomes an adult, and then their parents are like, why are you so fat? Find the reverse in the chair. Like, And I'm like, dude, you can't have it both ways.
No, you can't. And like, it's really obnoxious that we have this incredibly traumatic culture. The American culture is incredibly traumatic. It's traumatized people, traumatizing people. And like, it's getting more and more sedentary, right? Like they're encouraging people to like sit and be glued to screens and like not go outside and move around and be with their friends. Like there are some cultures where like kids don't even start school till they're 7 because they just want them to mess around and play and just be in their genius. Toddlers, most of them, like 98% of toddlers are geniuses, and only 2% of kids are geniuses at age 10. And that is because the school system gets them out of their curiosity, which is what's teaching them where they're supposed to go.
Yeah, it's like crazy grooming. Oh crap, there was something else too that I was going to say about the food thing and the fat shaming and all of that, and I just lost it because then I was thinking about the school systems. I don't know, it'll come to me. But yeah, like, oh, I know what it was. It was like my new favorite saying this year has been hurt people hurt people. Like you were saying, traumatized people traumatizing people. I think it's all very relevant because it's like my dad's parents, I don't know if this is true, he'll call me and tell me if I'm wrong because he listens to this, but my dad's
dad
my dad's parents, I can assume, came from like the people that were poor, and they were like, you need to eat this, right? Because we're poor and this is all we have, so you need to eat this. And then if he didn't eat all of his food, then he would go very, very hungry. There'd be some sort of suffering in some manner. So then if my dad then turns around and he's done better for himself and he's done better for his kids, and then he turns around and see his kids not eating this like beautiful food that he never even dreamed of as a kid, then I totally understand why he's like, finish all your food, don't waste all my fucking food, I worked hard for this shit, I ate moldy bread, like. So it's just that never-ending cycle of like hurt people, and then if I were to turn around and then do that to my kids, so that's a vicious cycle, dude. It's no good.
So it's not, let's take this out of the vocabulary. It's not a never-ending cycle. It's an ending cycle because you have control over what you do. What you don't feel, you pass on to your kids. So and here's the thing, you're going to cause some harm, and you're probably going to do way better than your parents because you're even thinking about this stuff. The fact that you even go to therapy will make you a better mom, right? Like,
yeah, I think so.
Prioritizing your self-care and like connecting to yourself and like making sure you take that enriching self time for you away from being a mom, where you can connect into who is Jerri, right? But also recognizing this time with your kids is so fleeting. You know what I mean? This is just like such, I mean, you already know you have a 10-year-old, right?
7.
Whose kid? Someone's kid is 10.
I think I think there's another person in GGG, but yeah.
I'm excited for this virtual one to be the family camp out because I'm excited for the kids to start to know each other, because I feel like
it'll be fun.
Watching everyone's kids grow up is really fun.
But yeah, I totally agree that you can choose to end it, and I do think people are becoming more and more conscious. So of course there's the old timers that are like, these young people, and back in my day, but I feel like the majority of the people that I surround myself with are consciously becoming better parents than what their parents were, because we know more now. It's not that our parents were all shitty people, it's just that everybody's becoming more aware every single day, and I love it so much. I know some people are really hateful of it and think that this new age is dumb and blah blah blah, but I do love it. I appreciate that I'm more aware than what my parents were, so but
it's so funny when I like am honest with my mother, which I am all the time, because I mean, here's the thing, you can be kind and honest with people. Sometimes you don't even need to say anything. But sometimes, like the other day, I like kind of just let it flow that like our family is emotionally abusive. And I was just like very frank with her. I was like, no, really, like the way you talked to me when I was growing up was emotionally abusive, because the way you were taught to be is emotionally abusive. I was like, it's a disease. It's just how, and I'm like, I recognize it now. And like, what's really fascinating is like how long it took me to really understand like what is appropriate communication and honesty with people. And like reading the book How to Win Friends and Influence People just changed my whole life, because
How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm gonna write that down.
I wish it was called, okay, so first of all, I will say some people need to be a good influence. You know what I mean? Like at least being
Yes.
kind to your friends and like having them feel your love for them, like will help them in some way, right? Like that makes a difference in the world.
Yep.
But it should be called How to Shave Off Your Rough Parts so the people you love can feel that you love them. Because a lot of us were raised in like environments like war zones, you know, like trauma war zones. And like the worst thing about trauma for a kid is not the experience of trauma, it's that being left alone with their feelings.
Yeah.
And so all of
Agreed.
right. And so like learning how to be with yourself and your feelings, like instead of just bypassing them, is like one of the most radical things you can do to like actually love yourself, you know? And like and it's what makes you a better parent, it's what makes you a better person in the world. Like just like how can you like make your light shine brighter so that you can shine brighter for other people. And it doesn't mean deny, right? You have a therapist, you have like things that like where you work on this stuff so you can show up more present to everything that matters to you.
And I think bringing stuff like that to parents or family or any relationships attention doesn't always mean it's the end or that you're so upset. It's just saying, you know, you were emotionally abusive, but it's not that I feel less love for you, and it's not that I don't accept you. It is what it is, and here we are. We all made it through, you know.
Exactly. And it's so funny. Like I just feel like it's like I'm constantly just shining light to stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's fine. We can like learn new ways of being. Like it's, you know, this is life. On the other side of just radically self-accepting like what's going on so that you can heal it. And it's like there's no arrival point. I think something that like I needed to know, and it took me a long time to begrudgingly understand, is that healing is not an arrival point. You're not just healed. You like actually this is ongoing forever work. You just got to figure out who's your it's like you're a race car driver, like the Ballad of Ricky Bobby, right? Like you're Ricky Bobby, like who's your pit crew? You know what I mean? Who's your therapist? Who's your astrologer? Who's your movement instructor? Right? Like
you just learn to deal with it better. It's not like you're healed and the shit stops coming. You have more better tools now. That's how I see it.
And kids who see growing parents will be interested in growth themselves and will, you know, be okay, a lot better okay than the rest of us. I'm really excited by how many conscious parents I know and how many people are intentionally interrupting generational cycles. If you're doing that work, bravo to you.
Thank you. I think I am. I'm pretty sure. I know I'm not the best every day, but I'm pretty sure
you're going to therapy.
But so I know like and one of the biggest things I learned from therapy is like recognizing who the voice in your head is to help stop it. And perspective is everything. Like you were saying, it's not the trauma itself, it's how you it was your perspective on it and you being left with your feelings, or your feelings weren't validated, or nobody corrected them, that kind of stuff, right? And like the most
nobody taught you how to regulate your feelings. Nobody taught you how to you didn't really have people there to co-regulate your feelings. I think people who grow up in sibling households with like strong culture really co-regulate well. You know what I mean? Because you can get like you can keep everybody pretty high vibe.
I grew up in a big family, but none of us, I feel like I don't want it to sound mean because I know they all listen to this. I feel
how many siblings do you have, Jerri?
My dad had 7 kids to many different women, and then I have step siblings. And I feel like since all of us had different moms, we all have different perspectives.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, no, I don't think there was anybody really there to co-regulate my feelings with me, or to even understand my exact journey, since we were all from different families.
Yeah, no way. You're not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the big families, like
I guess I see what you mean. Like Jordan
Page. Great example. My favorite.
The Duggars.
The Duggars in a way, but also let us mention the Josh Duggar trial. If you're interested in the Josh Duggar stuff, Without a Crystal Ball here on YouTube is the place to go.
Okay.
She's so dedicated to her Duggars coverage that she knows everything going on in that trial. And I can't watch too much of it because it's very, very disturbing. But
I try not to. But
the Duggars get a lot right, and I watched that show a lot for the last few years, and I love it. And I love their culture. Like and they emotionally co-regulate so very well. So like, yes, there was abuse, and they emotionally co-regulate well. You know what I mean? Like they have a harmony in the family that, like, I think when you get a harmony in yourself, that's how you get other people to be in harmony.
Yeah.
I don't know how you have like such a harmony while actively hating a lot of other people, like their weird Christian cult faith. It's like so anti-Christian, because Jesus was very clearly queer and like anti-authoritarian, like not the like fundamentalist Christianity. Judgy. Like if you're judging, you're not for Jesus, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, the anti-judgment. Like you're judging yourself harshly, not for Jesus. Jesus loves you, you know what I mean? Like we don't share a birthday, but we share a heart, you know.
But yeah, like the biggest example for my family not understanding my perspective or not being there for me was that my dad, the house that I grew up in, our house burned down whenever I turned 15. It was like I turned 15 like a week after our house burned down. And then
oh my God, how traumatizing.
I was not in it. We were on our way to vacation, and then we woke up the next day and our house was burning down on the news. It just, there was no house left, right? It's totally to the ground because it's all old colonial homes on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But what I just realized, literally like maybe a month ago or so, I was texting my sister about it. And she hadn't realized how much it affected me because they all had homes to go to. Like my dad raised me and I was the only one he raised full time at the time. There's been kids since that like grew up there. But they all had their mom's house to go to and I did not. And so it was like my house burns down. My dad doesn't really care because he has like a lot of other shit to deal with. And to him, he's just happy that his children are safe. And so like, I remember being 14 and turning 15 in a hotel room with all my siblings and like literally the spark is dying within and none of my siblings care because that's not their house. Right. And then my dad doesn't care because he's like, it's just a house because he's old and wise and is like, no, the things don't matter. But to me in high school, things are all that mattered. Right. And like, so looking back now, it's not a big deal, but I learned about that in therapy was like, that was a huge like trauma pivot in my life as a kid that no other person shared with me really at all. Like nobody understood how bad it was. And then I realized that my sister just learned all of this like a month ago through a text message. And we're going to be 30 soon. So she was like, oh, I had no idea. And then she was apologizing and stuff. But like I said earlier, it's not that I have less love for you. I'm just pointing out that this horrible thing happened to me and only me. I thought it happened to everyone, but clearly everyone didn't care. I think I might have been the only one. But yeah, it's very interesting how life works out with those things and how important perspective is to mental health, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it is like really violating when all of your stuff goes missing. Like we got robbed a couple times when I was a kid and that was really violating. Yeah. And like it, you know, you're just kind of suddenly your environment is different. Like a traumatic event, it doesn't even have to be that big, you know what I mean, to like have a significant like impact on your life. Yeah. And like the navigating of the emotions afterwards is really where we need to teach, right? Like and learn how to be with ourselves in navigating emotions, right? I always like to remind folks during my class that emotions are energy in motion. They want a place to go. And our tears are a natural reaction. That's how our body wants to complete the stress response. You can also dance. Dancing is super therapeutic for so many reasons. The emotions, big emotions only take 90 seconds to clear. So they're like an emotional contraction. You just got to hang in there and breathe. And usually something is coming up. Like if you're being triggered, right? Like you can just ask yourself, like, where am I feeling this feeling from the earliest that I can remember? And that'll give you, that's a good journal prompt. Like it'll give you something to think about in terms of like your inner child work, how you can be with your inner child. Because really, you need to be that grown up going back in time. Like what even is time, right? Like fold on the time, connect to your inner child self and like validate those feelings and be present for them, right? Like that's everything that's coming up is coming up to be healed, right? It's an opportunity.
That's basically what I did in therapy the first time I went.
Yeah.
And it's like, I forget the word for it. There's like an acronym for it where they can like do eye movements or whatever
Oh,
to kind of,
EMDR.
yeah, to get you to that space. So that's what we did. And that's what she was like, you know, imagine you're a kid and everything that bad happened just got put into a box and you put it away. And she was like, so now we're just going to start digging through all those boxes one by one and we'll see what happened. And yeah, it was always questions like that. Like, what's your earliest memory of this feeling? And I had never once thought of that. It was like fucking mind blowing, dude. I was like, what do you mean the earliest? I was like, oh, I don't know. No one's ever asked me that before. I'm like, so yeah, then you get to those like crazy pivotal moments of like your parents separated, your house burned down, your grandma died, whatever little thing it is. It's crazy how you can track it easily if you just think about it for a second and like let it process. But yeah, I could talk to you for 8 hours for sure, but I don't want to take up all of your time. But I did have like questions from Instagram for you if you don't mind answering them, because sometimes they can be lengthy.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Okay, I was trying to see if there's anything that we didn't cover that I had as a burning question, and I don't think there is. Oh, I did want to ask you, so I'm just going to throw this one in there as an Instagram question. Do you have a coming out story to your parents? Mom, parents?
Oh, yes. So I was with my first girlfriend, Valentine. Totally could have taken that last name. It could have solved so many problems for me if I had had a nice, showy last name that was easy to spell. But we went the Brand Landingham route. I would not recommend. And but so that's not my real last name, but it's my on the internet last name, not my lawyer last name, right? But now that I'm not practicing as a lawyer anymore, I was like, fuck it. Who needs a last name? I'll be Bevin.
Yeah.
I like it best. It's 5 letters, easy.
Good.
So anyway, what was the question again?
Coming out story to your parents.
Coming out story to my parents. Okay. So my mom is gay. I think that's an important piece of information.
Okay, very cool.
But what is very weird is that my mom and dad were married. They split up when I was 18 months old. Yes, I was the reason. And it's because when you're confronted with a child, the responsibilities you don't choose to take are more exposed. You know what I mean? Like, so 18 months old, single mom from then on out. And then my mom, like in that period of time until I was about 5 years old, she dated women. She was like a lezzing out. She was in the San Francisco Pride Parade, right? And then she like has a really like, I'm not even going to go into it. She has a very bad experience with a woman and like starts dating men because she couldn't really trust a woman again, is what she said to me at one point. And so like I didn't know like that gay was a thing you could be because there was no gay anything in media. And it was just like a very taboo kind of scary thing because like you could be hate crimed, right? Like my mom came out when I was 16. Again, she started she ended up getting married to my stepdad, who was a jerk. And then like they broke up and like lived in silence. So like my high school years were not peachy keen in any way, including harmony at home. But my mom and her ex-husband lived together until like I finished high school. It was really awkward. Anyway, so she comes out, right? And then like I didn't want to come out to my mom because like I was starting to think about my sexuality. I'd finally realized gay was the thing I could be when I was 14. I had to learn it at a Girl Scout camp. And then like Melissa Etheridge came out, and then like I remember my freshman year in college, Ellen came out, and that was a big deal. I was in my bathrobe, very closeted, sitting and watching TV. And like watching Ellen come out on TV was a big deal. God, I love that bathrobe. I was so awkward my freshman year of college. I like if I wasn't such a committed person, I would have dropped out. Like, but like I just lived in these suites, so I didn't really have a lot of forced human interaction, and I was just awkward. It was so hard for me. But my second year when I was an RA, I bloomed. I just had the time of my life. I was meeting friends. I was in a real dorm, having a lot of fun. And in that year, I started to really think maybe I'm going to come out, right? Like, cause I knew, right? Like I didn't know the word queer. Like queer fits me like a glove because it has no rules. You know what I mean? It's just queer. Right? Like it's a liberation term. It has a lot of political history. And like, I could not be here without the incredible political work of so many important people. James Baldwin, shout out. And so I just think queer really works for me. But at the time I thought bisexual, right? Like, cause I was attracted to the cute frat guy who lived next door, and I was attracted to, like, you know, cute girls in my women's studies classes. You know what I mean? Like, it was happening on both sides for me. And it's so funny that, like, I've never dated a man, but like, I just never did. But dated a lot of people who've had a lot of gender experiences, both before me, after me, and never really during me. But like, people have been changed after I've met them in many ways. Oh my God, my ex, I'm not going to tell this story. But
you can tell me later. It's fine.
Okay. It was, anyway, so coming out to my mom, like, so my whole sophomore year of college, right? I'm finally blooming. I'm finally making friends, and I'm not really talking about my sexuality. Like, I think some people knew, like, but like, also, like, I don't know, like, I think it was just a weird time too. Like, people, there's a lot of femme invisibility. I was not this femme when I was that age. I was trying to be androgynous because I don't know, that's how I thought you had to be. I was also really mostly just conscious of my fat. Like, I felt bad for being fat still. So self-loathing. I'll say the most significant coming out moment I had ever was to myself when I was 19 years old. I just turned 19. I got my nose pierced, and like, that was a real reclamation of my body, you know? And I was really conscious of myself as a fat person. And I just felt like I was inherently unlovable, and undesirable. And so, like, why would I come out? Because, like, who wants to love me? Right. It was a negative thought process that kept me in the closet. And then so I never really felt like the impetus to come out. I was thinking about maybe coming out. And definitely, like, maybe coming out to my mom, but we didn't have a really tight relationship. So it wasn't like I was like dying to tell my mom, you know? But what ended up happening was she lived in the Bay Area. I lived at Davis. And so the next year, my junior year starts, I met the very first day of school. Actually, the day my stepmom passed away, like, I felt this like peace come over me. I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt, by the way, not a cute look. Big voluminous Hawaiian shirt, some acid wash denim shorts. I'm sure this is 1998. And I met that very day, my first girlfriend at the time is the term we used. And, but we didn't start dating yet, but like, it was like my life started that day. Like, it was like an engine popped in me. Like, when it wasn't love at first sight, but it was definitely like, I noticed them. Like, I was like, shit, you know, like, long blonde surfer hair, longboard. Like, who shows up with a longboard at freshman or registration? You know what I mean? I'm like, so Southern California. I did not understand how Ventura it was. You know what I mean? Like, it was a moment. And like, I was like, my whole life was changed. So like, I was never afraid of coming out after that, because I was just in love with this person. You know what I mean? And so like, telling my mother was the easiest thing ever, because like, I was in love. It was like Buddy the Elf. I'm in love and I don't care. So like, that's how I came out. And you know what? 10 out of 10 would recommend to a friend. I want to say I was devastated when we broke up, first time and second time. And if I had known during those breakups that like later in life, they would be doing graphic design for Fat Kid Dance Party for free when I was a struggling entrepreneur, I like probably would have been too selfish to take solace in that, but I take solace in it now. Like, it is so great. The graphic design is so hot, and I'm so grateful to them. And like, I just want to say there are so many ways to love somebody. And like, sometimes you get really hot for someone, and like, you're just trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And like, what even are shapes? You know what I mean? It's just unique person to unique person. Every relationship is unique, and it's going to evolve as you evolve. And like, anyway.
Yeah, I don't think I really so growing up, my dad did not have open-mindedness at all for anything or anybody. Shout out to him now, because he's really made a lot of changes and strides to accept different people in the world.
Hey, Papa Jerry, shout out to you, ally.
So at the time, I did not think gay was an acceptable thing. I knew it was a thing, but I knew that I could never do that, because then I would not be accepted. But I've always been attracted to people, like all people, but I've been with men only because that's all I knew how to do. So, but
listen, life is long.
Yeah. So after I moved out of that environment and got to California, where everybody loves everybody, and it's just a lot chiller here than in Pittsburgh, I started to try to find like my true gender and sexual identity, even though I was like, I don't care what I did in the past. I want to know who I am now. So then I was like doing all the searching and all the searching and all the searching and then therapy and yada, yada, yada. So now like I'm definitely confident that I identify as like she, her, but if you call me something else, I don't care, whatever. But then I was like, oh, because I thought
a banana slug identity, if you will.
Yeah, the banana slug identity.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, okay, I think I'm a bisexual, because at the time that's all I knew. If you liked more than guys, then you were a bisexual. And then all of this stuff, started getting more recognition with the whole gender spectrum, right? And then I was like, oh, well, bisexual doesn't work because I like all the people. I don't care what they are or what they say they are. I just like people. I don't even have like an outward type, like you need to have this or that on the outside of you for me to like you. I just like people. So that's why I've recently adopted like the pansexual identity, even though I've exclusively only ever had sex with people with penises. I'll just end it there because I don't know that all of them identify as men, but yeah.
Here's the thing. Identity is fluid and so is sexuality, and people change, right?
Yeah.
And people can also be surprising, and people will always be doing what's right for them right at that time, and will disclose it in a way they need to. I feel like your sexual history has very little to do with your expression of who you are in a gender or a sexuality sort of way, because every sexual experience is like a party. It's like a unique experience with somebody else in their body, and in the way that you choose to have it together. And what's really sad to me, this is something I need heterosexuals to really listen up for, is on the heterosexual sexual menu, it's like 3 things, you know what I mean? And like butt stuff they barely want to talk about. But like the actual menu of sex, like just follow Ashley Manta, the Canisexual online. Yes. But the actual menu of sex is so vast. It's like a Cheesecake Factory menu. It is heavy, it is extensive, and it is customizable. And the waiter wants to communicate well with you so that you can have a good night, right? Yes. Like that's the thing I want you to understand that is so limiting about the heterosexual agenda, is like this total flavorless life. Live a life in full array in the spectrum.
Let me say, I'll say it here and now on the podcast so everybody will know. But Jerri stopped counting sexual partners after 30. And so my husband is 30 something or higher. And I did not even know that sex could be enjoyable until I met him. Like hands down, he was that was it.
You know, a blessing
the first one
for coming
the first one in like a heterosexual relationship that was like, let me serve you. How can we do this the best way possible? Right? Like nobody had ever done that before. But yeah, I told him long ago that that's his is the last penis I will ever see. I don't think I ever want to see another one till the day I die. So if he goes or we split or whatever happens in the universe, I don't think I want to see anymore. I saw enough till the day I die.
Can I tell you what I've learned recently about genitals?
Yes, and I love it.
And I will say that I can say I'm exiting the quarantine whenever that happens. Week 90, what up? But when it comes time to exit quarantine, I will exit quarantine a hand sex master from the Ashley Manta Canisexual Elevated Intimacy School of Handy Pleasure. I want to say that I only recently really understood that genitals are so unique. They're like fingerprints.
Yes.
There are some swaths of types, but barely, you know what I mean? And and I have had sex with far more than 30 people, but I stopped counting at 30 individuals. You know what I mean? Like I was a late bloomer, and I'm so grateful I was. I was not grateful at the time. In college, I was really resentful about it, but I had so many body issues and I wasn't even aware of them, that like, I'm glad I didn't try to involve someone else's body with it, you know? And like, but 21, I was in law school already. And I went back, and it was one of my sorority sisters from my lesbian sorority. She was poly, and I didn't even know until I was moving away to law school. And so I came back and tapped it. She didn't know. It was my first time.
That's cute though.
It is cute.
I think hands over other genitals, pleasing genitals, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Like these can do so many things that like your one thing can't do. Like there's 10 fingers, 2 hands, like what, there's no competing in my mind.
And everyone has hands. That's the thing. Everyone can be great at hand sex. And it is not a one size fits all situation. But like every genital being different, like I never even occurred to me, like, because they're all kind of remotely similar, right? Like there's right, but like intersex stuff is so common and people do not understand, like, because we are just sold all these myths. Question all of the realities that you have. Everything you think is true. Consider maybe it's not, right? Like, because there are so many lies that the systems teach us, especially around shame, to get us to stay focused in our shame spirals and go spend money on stuff we don't need to solve problems we don't really have because they are made up. Your skin is fine. I am living a no Botox lifestyle, and I want to be very open about it because I think a lot of people are very open about their Botox, and I just want to be the one that says, no, bone broth. You know what I mean? Good vitamins, like, you know, hydrate, drink all of your water. Like, it's a lot cheaper than plastic surgery. Drink good water, take good vitamins because they're very good for you. It's really, you want to pay attention to where they come from, like where the seeds started, right? Like, really think about like what you're concentrating and putting in your body. Costco vitamins are very inexpensive for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, you want something that's like nutritionally dense. So pay attention to what you're putting in your body, and like that's gonna do way more for your skin than like Botox. I don't know how I got on a rant about Botox, but like I don't care what anyone else does. I love Heather Gay. She's one of my favorite new housewives in the Housewives franchise. Salt Lake City. I think she is truly the most fuckable housewife from my lesbian queer perspective.
I don't know anything about housewives, but I love hearing about celebrity gossip.
She's a chubby blonde. She's from Salt Lake City, Utah. She is a former Mormon wife who was like really into the good girl thing. And then she realized this is a scam. She left her husband. She left Mormonism. She still has her 3 daughters that she's raising. And she created an empire out of plastic surgery, like Botox lab, like the fillers, all the, I don't even know all the stuff because I don't care about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like really doing good with the bone broth, and I can't wait to start collagen. Like, I am excited about my skincare path. But Heather Gay is such a fucking boss, and she's so hot. Like, she's like, I don't know how old she is. She's a little older than me, but like, I don't know. She's just milfy. You know what I mean? Like, and just, but not even milfy. Like, I think she's just really straight hot, like hot, buxom, blonde housewife, like out on the town.
I'm down. I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it. I don't really subscribe to plastic surgery, but I could see the interest. Like, I don't do makeup. That's one thing that I have a hard time with female friends, because they just don't get it. They're like, no, you do some makeup. And I'm like, none. I know nothing about makeup.
You know, it's interesting.
I know black eyeliner and mascara, the end. That's it.
I would not guess that based on your very epic nails. Like, you don't even have casual nails. You have epic nails. Yeah,
they're new. Because I bit my nails my whole entire life, and I finally quit. And for my 1 year anniversary, since I have a good job and I need things to fill my 1 hour lunchtime with, I decided to get fake nails.
Wow.
So
such a specific reason. And I wanted to fill my lunch hour.
Because I don't like to be in the office for lunch. I leave for the whole entire hour. Big advocate for that.
Smart. Me too. I did that when I was a lawyer working in some office park in New Jersey. Florham Park, New Jersey. What up?
But I do have to say, with the circling back to the hands and pleasure, these are not always the best. I'm still learning how to work with these, if you pick up what I'm putting down, right?
Okay.
So
latex gloves. They soften everything. And if you really need to, put a little take a cotton ball and just pull it apart a little bit and stuff it into the gloves. I'm serious. I love these tips. I know how to do.
I love these tips, because that was the first thing I learned. I was like, oh no, I've adapted to everything except for that, because I wasn't prepared for that part. Somebody should talk about this more, I feel like.
I mean, we are, Jerri Berry. It's on your
I shortened them and it's helped a lot. But
listen, I do. You got to figure out what length works right for your lifestyle. I am definitely a close cropped, like, I don't want any extra on my nails. I just want the gel. I want it to be sparkly. I miss my nails. I used to have fancy nails when I was a housewife. It was a self-care budget item. It's so true. She got a massage. I got nails.
Yeah, that's what I have now for sure. Nails, hair, I do pedicures. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
But I think these questions will be quick, these Instagram ones.
Oh, more questions.
We got on a tangent about the coming out story. I knew this podcast was probably going to be the longest episode. So
we have nobody producing us and telling us not to do
it. Exactly. So this person clearly made a typo on the first question and corrected it on the second question, but I wanted to ask both because they're both really good questions. So
great. Okay.
Question 1 is, what's your favorite spice?
Wow. You know what? Don't make me have to choose. My favorite spice is not having to choose. It's having all of the things I want to have around. I'm going to like shout out white pepper as a recent new favorite on the block.
Okay.
But a dash of ground ginger will really elevate your like fried rice situation. I love cinnamon. Like, I feel like cinnamon is the perfect friend to an apple. Like, why would you ever do an apple without a cinnamon? But then also shout out to nutmeg, clove, and a little bit of allspice. Not my fave. I don't like, my grandmother's name was Anise. So I will say, like, as an allegiance to her, I'm changing my mind. My favorite spice is anise, my grandmother's name, but I don't like the way it tastes, actually. I don't like licorice taste, but she was a boss bitch and named herself what she wanted. She went by Agnes for the first 30 something years of her life, and then was like, no, I'm an anise, and
That's
just took up that space, you know?
That's awesome.
And then,
I love that.
Her second husband, she like very happily took his last name, but she kept her other name as her professional last name. So like, she like had these dual identities, right? This home last name versus this, and she just chose what she wanted to be. And she like frequently spelled my name wrong. You know what I mean? Her granddaughter, along with everyone. Like, she just frequently spelled everyone's names wrong. Yeah. But you know what? She was a boss, and I love that. We left her anyway.
So the correction to that question, I'm assuming this was a typo the first time, and they corrected it by then asking, which is your favorite Spice Girl?
Oh, Ginger.
Okay. Oh, good to know. Ginger and Ginger. Very easy.
I'm a Ginger. Oh yeah, actually, I'm a Ginger sun, Ginger moon, Ginger rising. Like, if we're calling ourselves our big three based on Spice Girls, I am the triple Ginger. I have had her hair color longer than she did. So
that's interesting. I don't know much about the Spice Girls, to be honest.
Oh, well, listen, we're going to watch Spice World as a community. Then you're going to know a lot more about them.
But I do know there's a Jerri Spice, and I identify with that. So
Jerri Hollowell is Ginger Spice.
Oh, look at that. Perfect. Yeah. I learned something.
She's not a Jerri Spice. It's Ginger Spice, but Jerri is the name. Okay. And she's just blonde now. So she's not even on this like blonde redhead lifestyle.
That's interesting, because I was blonde and then I went to a redhead. It's all aligning right now. I think the Spice Girls work really well with the stars. You're right. Okay. And then another quick one is, what is your feel good show?
Oh, I'm going to say this is my like in front of the class answer, but it's not what I've been doing lately, which is Fantastic Fungi is my favorite comfort watch now, because I've seen it enough times that now it's just bonus, and I'm just but I learn something new every time I listen to it. I really think humans need to be like mushrooms, like focused on our connection, right? The mycelial network. You're focused on your connection, sharing resources, sharing nutrients, right? Like that's how the mushrooms they're older than us. They were here first. They are the reason we exist, right? Yeah. And we eat them while we're living, and then when we're no longer living, they eat us. Like, that's how it works, right? So I think we have so much to learn from them. So that, I think, is the most beneficial comfort watch that I do. Lately, my comfort watch has been dipping in and out of Gilmore Girls Christmas episodes.
Okay.
Right?
I never got on the Gilmore Girls train, but
it's waiting for you. Next time you get the flu, you have to just lay somewhere and you want a comfort watch. Lorelai Gilmore is the most likable person. She's so charming, and like the way they talk to each other. Lorelai and Rory, especially, I watched the reunion show. And I've watched it many times. I enjoyed, but like, I don't think the second actress, the not Lorelai Gilmore, the Rory Gilmore, I don't think she like honed her craft in their time since the last one. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, but the first go around, the first 7 seasons, you know, of Gilmore Girls is so good. And then the bonus is just bonus, because it becomes like being around Lorelai Gilmore is very comforting. You know what I mean? And others.
I've been wanting to watch it because Lorelai Gilmore was in Parenthood, which I watched and I really loved.
She's the same character. The
Yeah,
the
that's what I've
character in
heard.
Parenthood is Lorelai Gilmore, just in a whole different like quantum reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like same character.
And then
Very reassuring.
Rory Gilmore is in The Handmaid's Tale, and I watched The Handmaid's
Yes.
Tale religiously. So
That was after they did
Yes.
that Gilmore Girls. So she got her chops going, and I bet she did better in The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, she actually said that in an interview once too, that she feels like she didn't really find herself as an actress until Handmaid's Tale.
Oh,
like she had tried some weird stuff that nobody really watched because she wasn't that good in it, and she was self-aware in the interview I watched. But my go-to feel-good shows for sure all the time, if I'm in a show hole or I'm feeling down or I'm drinking too much wine, is always New Girl, and then more recently became Schitt's Creek. So it'll be either of those two.
You know, I have never watched New Girl. Although I do love and find charming Zooey Deschanel. She is in my favorite Christmas movie. And so I feel
Elf.
like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah, she's in everything that I love. So
oh, you'll love. I say this all the time. 42 is the meaning of life.
Yeah. Yep. My husband just turned 42. So shout out to him.
Of life. Yeah, shout out to Mr. Jerry. Happy birthday. Meaning of life. It's a good year. I'm winding down. December 24th, I turned 43. No longer the meaning of life.
Oh, well, you know, the next fun one I feel like is 69. I'm really looking forward to that year.
Wow. I feel like you're bypassing 45, 50. I mean, 55, even the double digit. You're like, no, 69.
42 to 69.
65. You're like right to 69. That's the only thing I can think of. Jerri, I hope that Mr. Jerri, don't let Jerri bypass all of those milestones. You make a big deal out of it.
Okay, I promise I have one more question and then we can end. And I don't want the person to feel bad if I don't ask it. So
that's very kind of you. I hope that your podcast gets so big at some point you have more questions than you can handle.
Yes, I do hope that happens. Right now, I only get like 3 to 5 per show, and this is a really good one. This person asked, how did you release the expectations of society? And I think that's an excellent way to close because we've talked about that all show long.
It really is. It was just a continual willingness to get to know myself more and more. It wasn't like one day I was like, poof. I'll say like when I was with my drag troupe was the most poof moment. Like I really came into my own. I started to recognize value in myself. Like it was like such a turnaround, but it was really that choice when I was 19. Oh, I didn't finish this story. This is an important one.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So that's all right. When I was 19, I got my nose pierced, and it was right when I was reading this book called Wally Lamb's. It was Wally Lamb's She's Come Undone. And there's a main character who's fat and she's very miserable, very self-loathing. What I hated about that book was that it exposed me to myself, because I realized from observing her that I was the same way, and I didn't like that about myself. I was like, that's really shitty that she feels so bad about herself. And I vowed to myself at that moment that I would figure out how to hate myself less. And that was the moment I took control over my life. I took control over my thought life, even though I didn't even understand what that stuff was until I was in my 30s. I was like 19 at the time, right? I did not know it was a journey to love myself. I didn't even know that was an option. I just knew I couldn't hate myself so much anymore. And so I turned to, I'm not joking, dance aerobics. I was doing these workout tapes called the Grind MTV Aerobics in my sophomore dorm room, and just dancing and just getting into my joy, because I knew that would make me feel better. I knew I liked aerobics in that way. And so I think that was the moment where it started happening, and it all unfolds from there, right? Like it's just kind of growth every year by year, be a little better, be 1% better every day. And then by this time next year, it's compound effect. Like you're going to be killing it.
Fucking cool.
That's a great book, The Compound Effect, too.
Oh, okay. Good. You have so many good shout outs. Yeah.
It's on Audible. I think it's even like on the membership on Audible. So if you already have an Audible subscription, The Compound Effect, change your life. What you do daily really matters.
Yeah, for sure. 100% agree.
Yeah.
The GGG definitely helped release my expectation of society.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Miss Bliss has like that Captain America way of doing those speeches, dude. I will believe anything she says in those moments. Like she has these quick sayings that change my life, and she doesn't even remember that she says them, and that makes me love her even more. Like the top 3 that I can remember is like, you can't love others if you can't love yourself. You are the portal between life and death as a womb carrying person, right? Like, everybody remembers the men in history, but not the women that birthed them. People are like trees. You would never ask a tree to be skinny or fat or have different hair or different body parts. You would just love it. Like, all of these things are stuff that I've heard her say at beginnings and closings. And like, it's definitely because of the amount of weed I've consumed that my body just accepts it and like thinks it over for like days and days and days after I've left. And I still remember them to this day. She's like amazing with it. I don't know how she does it. I don't know where
join us. You can join us. Patreon.com/glowing-goddess-getaway. You got to spell it all out. It's like an 18 and over thing, so you can't search for it. Glowing Goddess Getaway, the whole thing. You can also find it on Instagram. Connect with us there. $4.20 a month. It's a cost of a Starbucks. You can come and hang out with us on Discord, which is such an amazing community. And then in addition, and we have like a daily 420 video session where you can like hang out with people. And it's really, especially if you're a person who uses cannabis, like it can be very stigmatizing out there. And like, it's nice to be with people who intentionally grow, who use this plant medicine as an entheogen, like a way to connect to God and like connect to a higher version of ourselves. So we can go and glow up the people in our lives. And we do these virtual retreats. Those are at the 1710. And these are marijuana puns, or cannabis puns, I should say. And these are simply puns in monetary form. So 1710 is the virtual getaways. And then you can come and hear Miss Bliss give the opening and closings and channel, I think, the goddess. That's what I believe. And I think she like really taps in, especially to our collective energy, because like she always says what you need to hear.
And I always like to tell people, because I think my mom might come to an in-person one the next time it happens, if it ever happens. But I always
happens on the Jersey Shore. And COVID disappears as swiftly as it came in.
I always like to tell
air quality. What is your air purifier situation? Reach out to me if you want a good air purifier. I have the best on the market. I'm not kidding.
I always love to tell people, you do not have to enjoy or use cannabis to be in the GGG. It's called the Glowing Goddess Getaway. Whatever you are, you come and you glow up and you just channel, like you said, channel the goddess. Like, I've met multiple people at the retreats that have never smoked before, don't want to smoke. This is their first time doing it, or maybe they've tried it once before. My first GGG, I just had a vape pen that I would hit like once a month. And I showed up and it was like the highest I'd ever been in my whole life. There's so much stuff to do.
100%. Absolutely. My first GGG, someone handed me a joint in the registration line. I was like, I just got here.
Like people were lighting joints and handing to me while I was in a hot tub, like top naked. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the best place. Even if you don't want that joint and you just take it to this person, just being naked in the hot tub with all of these women that just love you for being who you are is the best thing in the whole world that anybody can do.
It's so affirming.
My only hope is that there is something like the GGG for all people, because I do appreciate that it is women only, because I feel safe naked in a hot tub if it's only women identifying people. So I do have a lot of male friends that wish that they had something like that.
You build it, they will come. Like, I feel like it's not a secret. You just got to create the culture. I mean, it is a secret. Persistence. There's no way you could make the GGG what it is without the persistence of Deidre and Celine to keep putting it on. Like,
correct.
It is.
The guys just need to find those two magical leaders to get it together and work. Yeah, for sure.
And the core group of people that keep going too. You know what I mean? Community means you keep showing up, and we really have such a beautiful community. It's part of how people feel safety. If you've ever read The Body Keeps the Score, it talks about how recognizing people in the same community is really a trauma healing, because what trauma does is it separates you from other people. So you can heal it through community and safer community spaces. Anyway, you're already welcome at Glowing Goddess Getaway. We want to see you. I'm Bevin's Party on Instagram. We should go.
Yes, I will stop recording, but you don't have to hang up once I stop recording, just so you know. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for talking with me for so long. I really appreciate it, because most people have things to do, and I'm not judging them for having things to do, but I really appreciate you and I love you. Bye, Biscuit Reynolds. Bye, Bevin. He's so cute. Bye.